Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Insurance Experts. It's my pleasure to have on the line Jeremy Green. Jeremy is a brokerage manager. He works with RIAs and does advanced planning solutions. He has so many letters after his name. Yeah, he's got a lot of credentials. Thanks for joining us today, Jeremy.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about how you got into the insurance space in the beginning.
I started out with Transamerica. I was an internal wholesaler for a number of years, and I was dumb lucky. I was looking for something different, and I ended up working for the Pillsbury family office here in Minneapolis. It was a multifamily office, and then I went to work for eventually for an RIA for a number of years, and doing insurance under fiduciary standard.
Very cool. Now, I know that there's a growth in the RIA world, and now a lot of insurance agencies are partnering with financial advisors in different capacities to offer a full suite of solutions to clients. And so this fiduciary concept is really important. Now, tell me a little bit about your practice today and how you work with RIAs.
Well, I work for an insurance brokerage firm, so we offer a number of products for solutions that involve the insurance as a funding mechanism for some other type of planning. So we work with a lot of RIAs, and of course, they promise to do a number of things. One of them is risk management and insurance planning, and so we provide product solutions. But most importantly, for like larger cases and so forth, and firms that are trying to do creative work, sometimes they work with us for doing some advanced planning. And so that's why I was brought onto CBS brokerage.
Oh, very cool. And so I know a lot of it involves the process. You know, RIAs are very process focused. We want to make sure that the clients understand that we're looking out for their best interests. So tell me a little bit about your process. What are the kind of the steps that you take to help the RIAs that you partner with understand why you're proposing the solution and why it's in their client's best interest?
Yeah, well, sure. Thanks. First, I think it's good to take a step back, and foundationally, there's the fiduciary duty is the standards for care, which means doing due diligence, loyalty, which means if there's a conflict between you and the firm, the client should win, and honesty, the disclosure of pertinent facts. And so when I work with RAs, we have to take all that culture that has those standards of care into consideration. It's not a rules-based standard; it's a principles-based standard. And so while it provides a lot of flexibility, so there's a need to provide some procedures around how you're going to implement that. It's just believable, it's professional, and it's something the client can, if you can really relay that process to the client so they can feel good about when they're looking at insurance, because nobody wants to be seen as a salesman, and nobody wants to be a salesman. They want to give great advice. And so what we do is put some parameters around, or suggest parameters around how RAs can do that. And one of them is have a standard for disclosure of insurance. I use the percentage of the death benefits. I take the commission, figure out what the percentage of death benefit is. I disclose as a percentage. Why? Because that's how RAs disclose their fees as a percentage of a total portfolio, for example. So it's a comfortable way to discuss that with clients. Number two, the standard of use of insurance. So when do we use it? Under what standards? It can't be, a lot of times people say, what's the need here? And I simply say that need is not a good use, not a good standard for the use of insurance. We should talk about outcomes, solutions. So what outcome could be derived from the use of insurance that otherwise wouldn't be possible? We wouldn't even be having this conversation, right? Mm-hmm. And so that is a different conversation than a pure need. Lastly, some methodology for how you're going to, what are the deliverables to show this work to a client that shows them that you've implemented these standards. So I have a one pager I show for deliverables that shows the client, how we came up with the insurance carrier, how we came up with the product, and how how the face amount was arrived at, and so forth. And it shows the death benefit, premiums, cash values in time, and commissions all in one page. So they can see that typically the underwriting is what dictates the winning firm. So this discussion around fee-based insurance or non-commissionable insurance, even though there's very few of those, some advisors like that idea where you can charge a fee versus commission-based. I'd say that's irrelevant. It really comes down to underwriting anyway. So. Mm-hmm. Sorry, that's a long answer, but good.
No, it's good. And I think, the vast majority of people that I talk to, they actually are very client-centric. And I think you have to be in this world. Really, we're trying to build trust. We're offering some complex solutions that clients aren't necessarily going to fully know the ins and outs of. And they're relying on us, right, to provide, those details and provide the right recommendations. I think having that process in place really shows that you're a professional. That not only you're saying you're giving good words to what you're trying to do for them, but you actually can kind of lay it out on paper, the outcomes like you said, and show people transparently the different solutions that you looked at, right? You kind of looked at a variety of different options for them. I know that recently, you worked with some RIAs. How do you kind of apply it? Maybe we can talk about a case study of RIAs that you worked with and how you applied those standards and what that looks like in practice.
Well, yeah, I worked for an RA here in the Twin Cities, so I think I had more than $2 billion shop. And when I went to them, the question was culturally, could we, not everybody in an RA wants to do insurance. Some want to be fee based, and it's for marketing purposes. And they generally believe that some of them legitimately believe that insurance they don't want to have any conflicts of interest. And my point is actually, if you thought about it, the conflict of interest is that you're getting paid by a third party, an insurance company. So all the things I just previously mentioned are ways to you can't get rid of that conflict, but to address it. And that's that you can have a fiduciary standard where you have a conflict, but it has to be disclosed. And so that's the importance of the things I previously said. I did that successfully at an RA for 7 years. It's a very good firm. I learned a lot there, but also shared a lot with them as how we could do that and change the culture. And you have to win over the culture, and the way you win over the culture is with the processes I previously mentioned. And it's just it can't be just I'm a good guy, trust me. It has to be that there's a process in place. If you weren't at the firm, they could still implement that and see independent of you that this works.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate you joining us today. I'm sure we'll have you on a guest on future episodes as well. I think you're in a growing space that's of course much needed, having that insurance expertise with clients that have advisors out there. So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks. It's been fun. I enjoyed it. Thanks, Mark.